Welcome back, everybody, to Ziggy and Pyrin play Pokemon Soul Silver. We're basically just training Is here because he's a wimp and a loser right now.
He's cute. He's looking around restlessly for something.
He is. So we're gonna go kick some ass with him. Hello.
All right, Ziggy, I've got a question.
Yes.
What do you think are like? Give me some of your top least favorite character laughs.
Least favorite character laughs?
Yeah.
See, that's the problem though. Is if it's I'm usually pretty okay with character laughs. I think the biggest thing for me is that like bad character laughs, I just don't remember them.
No, that's fair.
Yeah, most of the time.
It doesn't have to be like bad, but just like when you think about it, you're like, oh, that's like, let's say bad as in not necessarily like it doesn't work with the character, just like obnoxious or
obnoxious character laugh.
Hmm.
Ooh, you have to let me think about it. What about you? Do you have any in mind?
Well, yeah, I had a couple. The one that comes to mind. Get out of here, motorcycle. But seriously, motorcycles like that, I always just imagine the guy like riding down the street, like, look at me. Anyway, I don't know anything about motorcycles though. Maybe it's okay for them to be making a lot of sounds, but I don't know. It seems kind of unnecessary to me. Anyway,
that's actually the man making that sound. It's not the motorcycle.
Exactly. So yeah, a couple came to mind. One that I don't think I'll ever be able to forget is God, I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's like a family friend or maybe an uncle in Hey Arnold. He's like on
my end you cut out, so hopefully this joke makes sense. I'll laugh just in case. Ha 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 ha. I agree, Silas. I very much agree. Skype cut out on my end. Anyway, he might be talking. I apologize if we're talking overlap. Oh, there he is. Welcome back.
Hey.
Hello.
Could you put up the screen share?
Yes, I could put up the screen share if I wanted to. I can. Give me a second.
Sweet.
But back to the point that you were making about people with weird laughs.
What was the last thing you heard?
You didn't even tell me which character it was.
Yeah.
So who was it?
Cool. Well, I had a couple in mind, but the one that came to mind most prevalently was the he's like a relative, or maybe an uncle in Hey Arnold. He's like, I'm trying to remember what his voice sounds like normally. All I remember is his laugh. No, okay, I remember. He's like pot-bellied and he always has stubble, and I forget who his wife is, some lady, but he's just like super sexist and bad all the time. And when I think of him, I just hear his voice because he's always just like, "Hey, make me a sandwich."
Oh wow!
And that's
incredible.
What he sounds like.
That's beautiful. I've never seen Hey Arnold, so I don't actually.
Curious at the same thing.
Like I knew what it was, but I didn't ever want to watch it.
I don't get it.
Because I didn't
get it.
There's something about the show weirded me out, and it might have just been the art style or something. But I was never comfortable with Hey Arnold.
Thinking back on it, it is a pretty weird show, but I watched a lot of it.
It's same with Doug. Like
oh, Doug is the shit.
I couldn't watch Doug.
Oh, Doug.
It was just like, man,
missing out.
I feel gross watching this show, and I don't even know why.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
I couldn't do it. Okay, this is like the weirdest brain like connection for me,
right.
But it's one that happens a lot. Is that the art? You know when you're in like, let's say like preschool or kindergarten or something, and they have those books, right? Or like just children's books in general.
Okay.
If you smell some children's books, they just smell weird, like
kind
of gross. When I watch Hey Arnold, it looks like it wouldn't smell like that. And that sounds like super strange, but that is definitely, like, most definitely a connection that happens in my brain all the time with just like weird art. I don't really know why. But that's one that like consistently I make in my own head all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but like I spent a lot of time around like the weird smelling children's books because my grandma was the kindergarten teacher, right? So
The kindergarten teacher.
she was like at my elementary school. She was like
Oh, okay, I see.
the kinder. I mean, there were two, but no one talked about the other one because she was the best one.
Got it.
Yeah, but that's definitely a connection that I make all the time. Where I'm like, this looks like it smells bad. It smells like that musty children's book that made me uncomfortable.
That's pretty intense.
Oh yeah, Diglett.
Look at his eyes.
His eyes. I don't know if that's a. I think that might be an issue on my end because I have stretched the 3DS screen from its normal size to something that's not quite normal, so I don't have to be like face first in my screen to actually see what's going on.
Right.
But yeah, he looks kind of derpy. He's got like one really, really tiny eye. Like someone's hit him in the forehead with a shovel or something.
Alright, so if Doug made you uncomfortable, then what did you watch?
What did I watch? As a kid,
Yeah.
I watched a lot of Pokemon. I watched
Okay.
Teen Titans.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
at
That's
that
a
age
good
of my
show.
life, I watched Teen Titans,
Yeah.
which I don't know if that dates my age at all. It probably does. What else did I watch? What else was on that channel? That was like Cartoon Network, right? So
Probably. I don't know what
Um,
else it would be.
I'm just so basically what I'm doing to think about this.
Doug is a little earlier though.
No, Doug is a little earlier. But so I did a lot of watching TV either at my daycare or at the what's that called? In the classroom, my grandma's classroom.
Okay.
Just because those are the places. Like at my house, I didn't have TV,
Yeah,
so
me
it was
neither.
just like.
Well, at my mom's house.
Well, yeah. I mean, I watched movies and I played games and stuff, but I didn't have like cartoons or anything. I don't know why I'm using water gun. Oh my god. Let's use a health potion. But where was I going with that? What was I saying? Remind me.
Yeah, you watched a lot
Oh.
of TV.
Gotcha. TV that I watched. Scooby-Doo. Watched
Yeah.
a lot of Scooby-Doo. That might be like one of my favorite children's shows of all time.
Or just any show.
Yep. Like the original Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, not fucking like 2010 Scooby-Doo. I don't even know what that shit is.
I'm gonna be fair with you. I've never even seen it.
Me either.
Oh.
I just know it exists.
Yeah. Well, I know that they're doing like live action Scooby-Doo now, which kind of scares me a little bit.
You mean aside from the movies?
Yeah. Aside from movies, like the actual show itself is live action. Yeah. I'm really sick and tired of the Zubat using Astonish.
Me too.
I'm sorry,
I'm
guys.
trying to think of like earlier shows that I watched because I know there was like a period when I watched like exclusively PBS shows.
Oh,
and-
Cyber Chase.
Yep, Cyber Chase and Sagwa.
What?
And Sagwa was like the Chinese or Japanese cat. She like ran. She was like a Siamese cat, and she ran around in China or whatever she
Oh
was.
man. Okay. Yeah. I barely
Yeah.
remember that. That's pulling up some old like hidden memories back from when I was a kid.
Yeah, man. There was a good amount of Blue's Clues.
I don't
And-
think I ever liked Blue's Clues.
I definitely didn't watch it that often, but I there was a decent amount. Let's see, there was another one I was just thinking of. Oh well, because we read so many of the books, we watched a little bit of the Redwall show.
Oh,
Which was actually
I've heard
pretty
it was really
good.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. It was. I mean, I like the books better, but it did it pretty good justice, and a lot of my memories from the books even are reinforced by the memories of the show,
Right.
as opposed to deteriorated or anything like that, which I think is good. God, there are some other ones in there as well.
I remember. Is it? God. People are gonna hate me once I remember the name for this show because it's so popular. Arthur.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all right. Arthur fits in there as well. There are like two eras of kids shows for me that are like those shows, and then there's like a later version where I was more like, you know, between 9 and 12. That was
Okay.
more like fucking SpongeBob and whatnot.
Oh yeah, I mean I watched a ton of SpongeBob. I think that happened more in my like early adolescence though, as opposed to my childhood.
Right.
But to be fair, my life is like 19 years long, so those time spans aren't like that huge right now.
Yeah, but it makes sense to me. In the same way that like listening to certain bands, you know, in the
Oh, yeah.
past, if I'm like, oh yeah, when I liked that band or like this band, it could be, you know, disparaging, I don't know, by like a couple of years, but it feels like significant
Right.
jumps. Kim Possible.
Oh, yep, I remember Kim Possible. Disney. I
Always
forgot
Kim
that I
Possible.
watched a decent amount of Disney Channel.
Oh yeah, okay, that's what it was. I was trying to remember. I was like Cartoon Network. I feel like there's another one that wasn't PBS. Yeah, it would have been Disney Channel.
Yep.
There were a couple shows that I never really like talked about, and I almost pretended that I never watched, but I watched them anyway.
Such
Like
as.
fucking Codename Kids Next Door.
I actually really like Codename Kids Next Door.
I didn't actively dislike it, and I didn't even have a reason for like not ever talking about it. I wasn't like trying to hide the fact that I watched it. I was just like, if I were to ever talk about the shows that I watched, that would never be on the list, and then
Yeah.
I would find myself watching it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the same boat where I was just like, oh yeah, I watched that show and it's good, but I never was like, oh guys, you watched this episode of Codename Kids Next Door?
Right.
When I was talking to my friends, like, yeah, that never happened.
Samurai Jack.
I never watched Samurai Jack. People get
Oh,
really upset
dog.
with me about that too. I've heard that
Oh.
that show was excellent.
Yeah, Samurai Jack is the shit.
Man, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't have that many cartoons as a kid, just because we didn't have it, like in
Right.
terms of like in my house.
Yeah.
What else? I don't know. I watched a lot of Scooby Doo. I watched the Twilight Zone. Like I didn't hang
yeah.
out with my dad too much, but when I did, we watched a lot of the Twilight Zone. So I've
That's
got
cool.
like the original black and white Twilight Zone like pretty well down. I mean, sure there's episodes that I haven't seen, but I think I've seen most of them at least once. I just don't remember all of them.
We've got a bunch of early, well, actually, if you want to talk about like old VHS recordings, talk to frickin' Kiri's dad. But we have a few at our house as well, of, you know, a movie shown on TV or something like that.
Right.
And well, there's one that we watched like pretty often, and I don't even know if this is what piqued my interest in this area or not, but I've always been super into the Arthurian legends, and this was a movie that was made in the 90s about King Arthur.
Right.
The only actor that I recognize in which, I don't know how English works, is Helena Bonham Carter, and she's super young. And apparently the actor who played a character that they made up for the movie called Flick or Frick. I don't know what his name actually is because Helena Bonham Carter is his counterpart, and she has a funny speech impediment, so she always calls him Fwick.
You couldn't tell which it was.
Yeah, I think Fwick is probably maybe Flick. I can't even remember now. Oh, an R. Yeah, it would have been Frick, I guess. But anyway, apparently that actor was fairly famous. My mom knew who he was. But it's a real good movie. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I saw it. You know, it's like kind of my childhood. But it's super long. It was like maybe 3 hours plus, and it was being shown on TV, so it takes up like,
More than that,
I
'cause
wanna
you have
say-
commercials and stuff.
well, with commercials, yeah. So I think it took up 3 like VHS tapes.
Holy shit. It's crazy.
But it's really good. I think it's just called Merlin. It's about Merlin. It's not about King Arthur.
I remember. Okay, so I've never seen the show, the movie. But I definitely remember having. Maybe it was like one of our first conversations. Might have been Disneyland. It might have been at Kiri's house. I don't remember which. Like, God, I think it was at the same time we were talking about some book that you also really really liked.
Right.
And I can't remember the name of the book right now. But if you described it to me, I would remember the book. Either way, the main thing being is that you talked about it, and I was like, man, that sounds like it was super cool. And I think it was just you talking about like things that you and Aspen were into, or something along those lines. I don't remember. But you were like, yeah, this is really good, and I wanted to go look it up, but I couldn't remember what it was called. And it's old, so I don't imagine it would be hard to find. But Man, that was an old conversation. I'm really bad at remembering things. Also,
Dang.
music is
Yeah.
slow.
And it was a really vague description. Otherwise, I might be able to
Yeah,
conjure up some.
I can't remember the book was about like being in a house that was continuously changing or something. I don't remember. It's hard for me to remember. I think there was like a leaf in the title.
Oh, House of Leaves?
House of Leaves.
Because that's literally sitting right next to me right now.
Yeah, exactly. You were talking about that, and then also
Yeah.
Merlin. You're like, these are both things that I really like, and I was like, those sound cool.
Huh.
But I never looked them up or read them.
Yeah, well, I got House of Leaves here, and I'm actually reading it at the moment. I got it a couple weeks ago. It's real good. It's totally crazy, and it actually is, other than Aspen having it for a couple of weeks when I was like 15 or so, it's not really a reminiscent thing for me. It's just a cool book. Not as reminiscent in terms of books as, Harry Potter or Artemis Fowl or something like that.
Right.
But, which, by the way, Artemis Fowl is a really good series. Though I didn't finish it.
But I have heard that as well.
Yeah. I couldn't get past the fourth one because it was just like the first few chapters were just like, hey, there Miss is a little kid, and that was it. And then it was like, Opal is in a coma, and then it was like, Opal's in a coma, and it was like, hey, guess what, Opal's in a coma, and I was like, I don't care about this, and I stopped. But the idea is cool, and I really like freaking Eowyn Colfer. But no, House of Leaves is cool. It's a little bit hard to explain because it's very nebulous in terms of storytelling because it's like written by this guy Mark Danielewski, and it's told from the perspective of a character who's vaguely Holden Caulfield-esque.
Okay.
But it's a description of his experience with his friend, which involves a dead guy who wrote a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
And so he's like in the mix of this character, the sort of called Holden Caulfield-esque character talking about all this. He puts in some of the writings, like not just quotes, but full chapters. So you're just reading what the old guy wrote.
Right.
But what he wrote is a giant book about a documentary about a house that the documentary doesn't actually exist in real life.
Oh,
and
okay.
The old guy's kind of insane and like makes up a bunch of shit. And the house is like creepy and weird things happen. So you're like, it's all of this crazy in-depth lore and conversation and storytelling and whatnot about this crazy, creepy stuff that kept happening. And it's like convoluted, but in a good way, I think, and it just gets crazy and it messes with your brain. And then there are footnotes that have a lot of information, and sometimes they're footnotes from the Caulfield-like character, and sometimes they're footnotes from people who just refer to themselves as the editors. And then there are footnotes on footnotes, and then there are like chapter-long footnotes, and then there are just blank pages, and then there are pages that are the text is upside down, and now I'm flipping through the book, and there are pages that are all in red with lines through them, and
so you're supposed to get the idea that it's written by like
dots,
a crazy guy?
and a couple of them just have X's. Well, kinda, but it's not really written by him because it's also written by this guy and also written by this other guy and also edited by these people, and
Right.
it's just like everyone, and I'm not far enough in it to even get it entirely, but it's just kind of like it's like you're watching or reading a psychological thriller movie, where it's trying to fuck with your brain. And
Right. And you're like, what is going on? Should I understand what's happening right now?
Right. Who even wrote this? What does that mean? Is this even real? Yeah.
It's called House of Leaves, right?
Yeah. And I can definitely imagine, too, that it's not for everyone.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's for everyone, but I'd be interested at least, like, trying. I think I'd probably enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't, like, particularly, I don't know, able to parse what was going on,
Yeah.
Oh. Well, we just learned confusion on Is, so we have a psychic move that he knows now, which is sweet.
How apt.
How apt. We gotta go heal, because he's not doing so well. But other than that, we're making our way through this gym pretty quickly. So it looks like on the next episode, we might actually be able to beat it. What? And I say next episode because this one's about to end. So, thanks everybody for stopping by and watching this episode. You're all fantastic, and I hope to see you on the next one.